Welcome to Cryptic Corner. This is Bree, and thank you for coming. It is Friday night. Appreciate everybody for showing up for this. And also, hello to my live audience here in live from the Hive on Saturday morning. It is great to see all these familiar faces. And let's get started. So, there was a idea that I was floating around for the show, for Cryptic Corner. Trying to I like to do series as well, you know, throughout. I don't want to do just I've tried just doing like a month of something, and unless it's really special, I'm not going to do that for anything coming up because it gets frustrating when new stuff comes out and I can't cover it right away, because I'm already locked into doing a month of I like UFO October. I did. When I did that, I was not able to cover other stuff that came up in October, and October's a good month for new ghost footage and poltergeist activity videos and things like that, which I ended up having to put off. So I'm not going to do that again, at least not in October, especially not in October. But some months are more likely to be themed towards something like of March. Will probably be more do like fairy videos and things like that. People catching fairies on their doorknob cams and stuff like that, which are inevitably dragonflies that are moving faster than the shutter speed, or moths or whatnot. Back to the moths, but yeah. So, but you know, I did want to do like an overarching theme of just covering some different national parks, which I've done already. I did the Smokies. We talked about the wild men that live in the Smokies. There are other things about the Smokies that we can cover too, especially a lot of ghost stories. I think the Bell Witch is from the Smokies, so we could talk about that as well. The Bell Witch phenomena that allegedly happened in the early 19th century, but for another time. And I wanted to make sure that I did get some more parks in. So another park is the Smoky Mountain Park, and I figured this is a good way to do it. The Smoky Mountains is a park that I've spent some time in, a few times. I've been to the Smoky Mountains 3 times, and spent time in that park. Beautiful place. I love it. Hey, Doc Fearsome. So another place that I've been, not 3 times, but only been once, was Grand Canyon. Now, this isn't the first time that we've talked about Grand Canyon on Live from the Hive, but usually we talk about that over in Creation Watch, which is the next segment. So stick around for that after this, because we're going to find out about wokeness. But yeah, I've covered Grand Canyon here before, but it's usually against young Earth or young Earth creationist arguments, because they love the Grand Canyon and they love to misunderstand it. And I get to teach them about it. It's fun. So I wanted to see what else we had going on in the Grand Canyon. And there is kind of a famous narrative about the Grand Canyon, about a lost city buried underneath it. So today, in Cryptic Corner, oh, I don't want that slide. Hey, that's our time traveler. He time traveled from last week into this stream. Back, time traveler, back. There we go. I got him. Put him back in his own timeline, I hope. Hope he doesn't show up in another stream at some point. Just pop in there. That'd be a problem, right? That was close. We don't want to mess up the timeline, guys. We don't want to mess up the timeline. All right, so let's see here. Yeah, that's the one I want. There you are. Giant underground city found under the Grand Canyon mystery. This is from a channel called Strange Night. New channel for us, but we're going to give them a shot to to sell that to us. Actually, I want to switch to this one. Hold on. Because it fills the screen up a little better. Since we're already here. There we go. I like that better. How about you guys? I think that works better. I'd adjust a little bit though. I shamelessly edit right on screen to get my stuff to fit right. I don't care. Strange
Arizona,
night.
USA, 1909. Archaeologist Dr. G.E. Kincaid headed to the Grand Canyon to interview the Hopi people.
That was not a picture of G.E. Kincaid. Just to let you know, the slides that are included here are not going... I will point them out if they're actually anything real associated with this. This is a channel that uses stock images and slides while it goes through a narrative. So the people present in these slides are not generally going to be the people actually associated with the narrative. And if they are, or if any of the images are associated with the narrative, I will let you know.
Kincaid was a renowned archaeologist sponsored by the Smithsonian, the National Museum of the United States. Having a great interest in the Hopi tribe, he often visited the Grand Canyon to talk to the people. As he naturally became more acquainted with the Hopi chief, Kincaid was eventually told something quite profound. It was that there was a megalopolis beneath the Grand Canyon. The chief also added that the Hopi ancestors did not build the underground city, but instead discovered it, and that the city appeared to have been built a long time ago. Kincaid, who had become very interested, asked about additional information regarding the city, but unfortunately the chief said that he could not say anything more, as it was a secret passed down the generations. With the sparse information he had received from the chief, Kincaid tried deducing the location of the entrance to the underground city, and it was at Green River Canyonlands, Utah, where he began his exploration. In search of the entrance to the underground city, he traveled by a wooden boat, accompanied by his assistant.
I'm muted. Okay. Sorry, I was have to do it at least once a stream, right? Anyway, I was saying that it probably was not a bamboo raft that that this gentleman went down the river with. It was probably a canoe. If it was a raft, it would have been a barge raft. I see you guys. It takes a minute. There's a bit of a delay. Sorry. I do see you guys. Oh, I talked for a long time too. Yeah. Welcome to the stream, Kyle. I'm glad you're here. Make sure everybody's caught up. Okay, yeah. So yeah, if he was going down the river, going down these narrow rushing rivers that run through the Grand Canyon, it probably wasn't on like a bamboo or log raft like that. It was probably on in a canoe. Just the rafts that they used in the frontier were generally barge rafts that were pole driven, right? You'd stick your pole in the dirt and move yourself around, or you can do it on the bank, or you can do it on the bottom of the river. But you move yourself along and keep yourself centered by poking around with the pole. These narrow rivers were not good for that. They were too fast for that. So it was likely that if he did go down this river, it was in a dugout canoe at this time period.
At the time, artificial structures such as the Glen Canyon Dam did not exist, allowing them to move freely through the river. After some time passed, Kincaid discovered unusual sedimentary rocks on the eastern wall of the canyon, located approximately 42 miles above the El Tovar Crystal Canyon River. In addition, he also discovered different sedimentary staining on the riverbed nearby. Near the riverbank, he discovered an entrance to a cave, hidden behind surrounding objects. There were also minute traces of what looked like stairs around the entrance to the cave. Having discovered chisel marks on the inner wall of the cave's entrance, Kincaid was convinced that this was the entrance to the underground city. The thin and narrow path leading to the underground spanned several kilometers. It is said that after a long time spent underground, Kincaid finally discovered a man-made gate that appeared to be the real entrance to the city. The city was formed as if carved out of giant rocks, with dozens of passageways spreading out like spokes from a large space that looked like a communal hall. The rooms located at the end of the passageways led to even more rooms, and it is presumed that the number of rooms was in the hundreds.
Presumed, though. You got to keep that in mind. It's got to be... I cannot stress enough, presumed. Okay, continuing. If my mouse will get
the rooms were mostly square-shaped. There were round and cylindrical passageways in the walls and the ceiling, which looked like some sort of water supply or ventilation system. It is said that the most surprising thing was the giant stone statue in the communal hall. This is what Kincaid had to say about the stone statue. The stone statue was sitting cross-legged and holding a flower in his hand. The flower was either a lotus or a lily. Considering that valuable relics were scattered around him, he seemed to be some sort of god regarded as sacred by the locals. The appearance of the stone statue was especially surprising, as it was very similar to that of a person of Asian descent.
Well, I mean, the Native Americans were of Asian descent. I don't know why that's unexpected. I would anticipate that it would be more bizarre if it was like Caucasian or like a different, or maybe like a sub-Saharan African features or something like that. I would be more surprised than seeing Asian features, just because that's where the ancestors came from, right? Hey, Bjorn. It does sound like a school video, doesn't it? The Great Grand Canyon, where's that located at?
In fact, it closely resembled Buddhist statues of Buddha. Kincaid also discovered a large number of weapons made of copper and ceramics with unusual designs. Some of them had drawings on them, which were presumed to be ancient hieroglyphs. According to Kincaid, they looked quite similar to the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. It is said that Kincaid felt a strange sense of disparity as he was exploring the interior of the city. And this was because he had a strong feeling that the various relics and traces found inside the underground city were a mixture of civilizations from all over the world.
You see, and we're not looking at like if they showed that, if they talked about this and showed images of like Pueblo artifacts, like artifacts not necessarily from the Pueblo people, but anybody who lived in Pueblos or lived in the rock face communities, right? Because there were villages built into canyon walls all over the Southwest. There were civilizations. The Anasazi lived in canyon walls. Some of the ancestors of the Navajo lived in canyon walls. Or they, I guess the Navajo more associated with groups that lived in canyon walls. So there was it's not like this type of civilization is unknown, right? Where they're living in the walls like that. But telling the story and then showing Egyptian artifacts kind of paints a narrative.
The mixture went beyond just different countries, spanning across both the Eastern and the Western civilizations.
See, they show those images and give you the implication in your mind that, hey, you're looking at this is the kind of stuff that they found, and that's just not fact. If they found anything at all, but we'll get into that in a bit.
In the end of his exploration, Kincaid, who knew very well the archaeological significance of such cultural chaos, requested assistance from the Smithsonian. Upon reviewing the data set,
I wish I had a doom 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 that I could play when they mention Smithsonian.
Sent by Kincaid, the
Oh, hey, Wes.
Smithsonian immediately prepared to dispatch a large-scale second exploration team. The fact that there was a megalopolis existing beneath the Grand Canyon leaked to the outside and was followed by an article published in Arizona Gazette, a local newspaper in Arizona, USA. And so Kincaid began the second exploration
Arizona Gazette
of the underground city, alongside Professor S.A. Jordan and approximately 30 investigators dispatched from the Smithsonian. The second exploration
S.A. Jordan. So we have G.E. Kincaid and S.A. Jordan. Those are our explorers that we're talking about today.
revealed even more surprising facts. As they were looking around the basement, they discovered an extremely large and spacious room. Inside were hundreds of mummies wrapped in linen. The average height of the mummies was 9 feet. In addition, all the mummies appeared to be male, seemingly related to an ancient hierarchical culture. Being familiar with rumors regarding the existence of a civilization of giants during ancient times.
And now it's showing biblical stuff. We're seeing Egyptian mummies, but what they're talking about is stuff that we have found from canyon side communities all over the Southwest, right? We find there's been mummies found, there's been artifacts found, tools found. I don't know about weapons. Maybe weapons? Somebody can Google it for me while we watch this if you want. Let us know. But yeah, they're not. This isn't what if this was something that was found. This is probably not the way that it would have looked. It's not what we would have expected. What we'd expect is something very similar to finding findings of other cliffside villages, and what they're describing is not out of the question for that, but they're putting this flair on it. It's a colonizer tactic called Orientalism, just anything foreign to make things foreign and Eastern. There's no if you read the newspaper article, which we do have here, and I will show you guys. There's this. It doesn't explicitly link it to Egyptian. It's vaguely Eastern. They talk about vaguely Eastern ideology. We got Buddha in Egypt and India and all this stuff. Just Orientalism is what this tactic is called. It's something that white people. Listen, white people. It's something that my ancestors did to all the cultures that weren't European. So there were either the Oriental societies, and again, this is not a term that I use. I don't use that term at all. But that's the idea. It's racist. There were either those or there were the savage societies. Those were the only things, and then there was civilized societies, which was the Western cultures. So pretty gross time period, pretty gross way of dividing people and societies up, but whatever.
Kincaid and Jordan were strongly convinced that the mummies were evidence of such a civilization. Considering the number of mummies and rooms, it is presumed...
Nope, mummies are common in the Southwest because it's a desert. You look at where mummies are common from, and you'll see an overarching theme. Where do we think about mummies from? Egypt and the Middle East, right? You think of them from the Atacama Desert in Chile. Those are some of the best preserved and oldest mummies in the world. You think of them from the American Southwest. What do all those climates have in common? I'll give you some time. No Jeopardy music, sorry. I need to get more bells and whistles on the channel. I see a lot of people with soundboards and stuff. Do 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 do. Yeah, peat bogs are another example in glaciers. But we're the cultures that learned to harness natural drying methods of a corpse are mostly desert communities. And you think about it, you probably trace it back to just protecting our dead from scavengers. So the act of protecting our dead relatives from scavengers in these arid environments led us to notice that the bodies can preserve naturally. If this and that are removed, they do even better, and making mummies. Yep, dry environments. They are dry. Absolutely. Yes, dry, arid regions. The Andes Mountains, absolutely. Some in China, too. You guys rock. Why do I have the smartest hive on YouTube? I don't get it. I see other people's hives, and they're like nothing compared to you guys. Just saying. Just saying. You guys are freaking amazing.
That the underground city could accommodate at least 50,000 people. Unfortunately,
50,000 people. That's as big as the town I live in. Almost as big. And yeah, I'm so lucky to have you guys to debunk this stuff with me.
they could not explore every single room. The sheer
No, that
number
looks
of
more
rooms,
like it. This is more like what we expect in the Paleo-American, pre-Columbian cultures. Is something that looks like this, at least from the outside.
was not the only problem, as there were also places that were
That's pretty
unfit for
close,
exploration,
too.
such as tightly locked rooms and rooms that could only
is
be
not.
accessed from above. Moreover, Kincaid had strong doubts about one of the rooms. There was a large, unlocked room that we could just bring ourselves.
Unlocked? Are they implying that there were doors? Because I would like to see that in writing. That because nothing sounds like it's been locked. Sounds like it's been open chambers.
To enter. The smell emanating from the room was so foul that we felt lightheaded. I tried shining my flashlight around the entrance, but it was far from enough to break through the darkness inside the room. If that was traces of gas intentionally released by the ancient people, whatever was hidden inside the room.
Would they have flashlights back then? I figured they would have lanterns. We're talking, what did they say, 1919 and 1909, somewhere around there. I think flashlights were pretty crude at the time, and they got really hot, too.
Could not have been ordinary. At the time, the underground megalopolis of the Grand Canyon was featured in media articles, gathering much attention. However, no additional information about the underground city was announced after the second exploration. This was because the authorities in Washington, D.C.
How assertive that was. This is because the authorities in Washington, D.C.
who had been informed of the exploration details by the Smithsonian or
by the nefarious Smithsonian.
for the immediate closure of the cave. People waited, hoping for Kincaid to...
Yes, if we found a native grounds where there was burial and things like that, we do have a obligation to the native cultures. If this was a tomb that we found on this cliff face, we have a obligation to the people in respect to their humanity to treat their remains with respect and to keep people from looting and raiding them. So yeah, they're gonna close it off if we found something like this, but
to reveal the truth. But since then, news about him could not be found in any media. Traces of his exploration had completely vanished from the archaeological community as well. This resulted in two main opinions arising from the public. The opinions were that either Kincaids' discovery of the underground city was fake, or that it was a cover-up by the government. But then again, not only were its facts published in local newspapers, but it was also an official exploration substantially supported by the Smithsonian. Kincaid, of course, was also a real-life archaeologist. Also, in most cases of fake news, there are groups or individuals making profits from such false reports.
Kincaid was a real archaeologist? Are you sure about that?
However, not a single person benefited from the news about the megalopolis beneath the Grand Canyon. There were no books, TV documentaries, or movies regarding the topic. Not only that, but Kincaid himself had simply disappeared without a trace. A famous American conspiracy theorist, John Rose, even went all the way to the Grand Canyon to discover the truth. I am unsure if the place I found was the entrance to the cave. However, soldiers guarding a seemingly insignificant gap in a canyon on a 24-hour shift were quite suspicious. They were even armed with M16s. It is said that mainstream textbooks in the United States introduce the ruins of the Grand Canyon as nothing but an Indian civilization. But if Kincaid's words are true, this was something far more significant.
There are hundreds of ruins in the Grand Canyon. Hundreds.
Than just an Indian civilization. An underground megalopolis that may contain the secrets of super ancient civilizations, giants, religions, races, and perhaps humankind.
giants. We are here to the giants, guys.
Itself. Just what could its true identity, shrouded in mystery for more than 100 years, be? This has been Strange Night.
What a strange night indeed. Okay, let's crack this open. All right, so you can find a few articles about it. Mostly I was just pulling this up to look at the newspaper. So I think I have this blown up somewhere. Okay, so this is just the story related to the sleuthing that someone went through to find this in the Arizona Gazette, 1909. Yeah, fee fi fo fum. It's time to watch some giants crawl out of the Arizona caverns. No, it's not. Oh, ring. Okay, so what are we looking at here? It's a newspaper, and this is a kind of a frontier type newspaper. During this, the early 20th, late 19th century, these publishers of these newspapers out west were a little imaginative. This is where we get our giant skeletons and things like that. This is also where we get our pterosaurs that are being shot down by cowboys and all these crazy tales of the weird Wild West. Yeah. So I could do a whole series just called The Weird Wild West, where we go through old news reports and try to pick the weirdest. Would you guys be interested in that? Maybe that can be something I do on the side. I still need to finish up my Tier Zoo thing, but my December and my January actually got stupid busy with YouTube stuff. So I haven't been able to do a lot of the side projects that I wanted to, including the stuff for my sister channel or daughter channel, whatever you want to call it, Breeze Bestiary, where I talk about animals. I do have a lot of pieces in works for doing the Jungle Book thing, but I am gonna push it back. I was planning on starting it in January. I'm actually gonna probably start it in February or maybe even March, just because of the time crunch I'm in and all the bigger collabs and stuff that have kind of landed in my lap, and I don't want to pass up. Back to the topic, though. Back to the topic at hand. So yeah, the Arizona Gazette, one of these frontier style publications, but the editor is also the writer. It's a 2 or 3 man operation, maybe, in a small town newspaper. Maybe not. I mean, this is I think this was in Phoenix, so it was in Phoenix, but published in Phoenix. They might have had a pretty good sized team at that time, 1909. They could have had a pretty good sized team. I don't want to make that assessment. That was jumping to conclusions on my part. But a lot of these, when you read these little news reports from the olden days, it's little towns. Phoenix was pretty big. But it didn't stop them from indulging in this type of behavior, because Mr. G.E. Kincaid, maybe they were a real person. I don't want to say they weren't a real person, because, where was it? Did I save it? Maybe I didn't. Anyway, there. If you look, there is a census from Idaho, because G.E. Kincaid is the name of the first person of European descent born in Idaho, allegedly. I mean, that's a hard thing to pin down for sure, but that's what comes up on the name when you look it up. Independent of this Arizona Gazette article, is that there was a person named G.E. Kincaid born in Idaho sometime in the 19th century, and they were the first person to be born in Idaho. I don't have the dates up here. I did have it pulled up, and now I can't find it, and I'm not going to make you guys watch me dig for it. But you have to. I guess I could link it in the topic, or I'll link it, because I don't want to be I don't want to be accused of not following up with my sources. So I will link it down below. Don't let me forget. Hold me accountable. Hold my feet to the fire on that, because I do tend to forget stuff like that on occasion. But yeah, here's the article. Also, this S.A. Jordan, the alleged. So the thing about S.A. Jordan is that when you look them up, it's only related to this. There's no S.A. Jordan other than related to this story. And they're alternatively called an archaeologist and an anthropologist. And G.E. Kincaids is also referred to as a archaeologist on occasion, but I don't necessarily know that when the original stuff was published, if that was the implication that we were supposed to get. But they did not, as far as I can tell, publish anything after this original and then follow-up article, because it was BS. There was no lost civilization that anybody can track down. This is more of an attachment to this Smithsonian conspiracy too, where you see a lot of younger creationists point their finger and say, "Oh, they're covering it up," and things like giant skeletons and stuff like that. But it's all one overarching conspiracy that, when put under a microscope, doesn't hold any water, because it only links back to these little frontier style news articles, which generally toe the line between fantasy and reality. And again, we can explore those in more detail at some point in the future. But yeah, that was our lost city of the Grand Canyon. And I don't think there's anything more to it. I don't think that we need delve any deeper. So, yeah, let's see. I need to figure out how to make it so those intro screens don't have to pop up every time. Anyway, so thank you for joining us for Cryptic Corner. I do hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit the thumbs up down below. And if you agree with me that that this was just another news article hoax and people spinning yarns, there are folks that still believe this tale. And if you're one of them, please cite down below your sources so I can dive into it, and I'll do a follow-up if you can show me something I missed in my sleuthing. But for now, I'm going to say that this was based on people talking about finding Native American ruins in the hillsides with, carved into the cliff faces or the canyon walls. Little villages and things like that were phenomenal to these people, and they went back and told the stories, and the writers had heard them, maybe sitting around the bar or something like that, and kind of embellished on them a bit to sell a sensational newspaper story. Absolutely possible, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, thank you for joining me in Cryptic Corner tonight. Again, please, if you aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'm so close to 1,000 right now, and I will see you tomorrow morning for Live from the Hive if you want to show up for that. So please remember to be kind and take care. We'll see you next time.